inside the emotions of the box in the last 10, 15 minutes?
Yeah, it was a bit different. I was sort of like not really sure how the game was going to play out. I mean, it was really sort of end-to-end there at different times, and both teams seemed to be making some mistakes. But yeah, to sort of compose, I guess, at the end, which was good. We were obviously really challenged for most of the second half, so sort of correct a few things at three-quarter time. We've clearly been beaten around the ball, so our mids went to work on that. Had some really big plays, especially at centre square bounce in the last quarter that gave us some good drive. So they really lifted in that last quarter, which made a pretty significant difference for us.
How pleasing, we all know the narrative around Carlton, forward half efficiency, second halves. How pleasing was it that you get a result when the whips are cracking?
Yeah, familiar Taylor early. The game looks easy that way, doesn't it, when you're sort of sitting there at quarter time, but expected a challenge at different times because that's the nature of the competition. And tip your hat to Essendon. They've probably shown over the last little period of time that they don't put it away. They keep coming. I certainly did that against Brisbane the week before. So to be able to sort of compose ourselves, I guess, late and then be able to finish the game off, you don't get that done if you don't stay connected as a group. And you're probably accused that we've lost that connection over periods of games and for too long, and it's given opposition, an ability to be able to go win those games. But fortunately, even though the method wasn't fantastic, we're still able to sort of stick out as a group and we're able to get over the line in the end.
Is it still a worry, though, that this problem seems to persist? Like, we've been asking you about this all season long. You're up by 38 points in the second quarter. It gets to 6 with 4 minutes plus left. Like, it could have easily gone the other way.
Yeah.
Is it becoming, like, or are you pretty concerned?
It's a step at a time. It's a step at a time. Certainly, it's not going to be we're not going to go from, 0 to 100 in 5.8 seconds here. It's we've got to take it a bit of a step at a time. So the bye gave us an opportunity to be able to sort of look at all those things and maybe dig a little bit more into the why and how we can get it better. And some of that was around our ball movement. Some was around just being able to make sure that we execute for longer and to continue to persist. So it's a good problem to have if you're in front by that much and you're getting that many opportunities. It's a good problem to try and solve. The harder one to solve is you're behind all the time, you get no opportunities, and you're trying to win your game from a completely negative base. So it just depends on which way you look at it. We'd like it to be different. We'd like some of the results to be different in the first half. But now it's about moving forward. Now it's about looking at these games we've got now and try and build some momentum off the back of it.
The performance of Jack Silvani tonight, I mean, your backline was pretty solid all night, but I thought Silvani's performance in particular was just really outstanding. Yeah,
it was. Having him back, our back line looks stronger with him down there as a back seven. You would have noticed we flipped a few things in the front half as well, and that probably goes back to the consistency basket a little bit. Like, we did try a lot of things, like 5 changes in one area in one night. I mean, that's a lot. So there was always some risk that maybe a bit of fatigue sets in, maybe the execution of being able to do your roles is not there for long enough. But I saw enough to know tonight that more players were hitting the scoreboard. Charlie hit the scoreboard, Fantasia, McGovern, Williams. So to get that bigger change in one area of the ground and then sort of expect you're going to roll out for 120 minutes for the first time, it might be a little bit too ambitious.
There's been a lot of talk around what happened with Chera.
Yep.
There was a gap. He gets assessed on the ground. He's out there for another 14 minutes. Then he gets taken off. Can you give us any insight as to what was happening at your end with that and whether there was any AFL intervention in there at all, Michael?
I couldn't tell you about the AFL intervention, but he was assessed as we do, and have the capacity to be able to do at the time. I guess we probably took quite a cautious approach and did the HIA, so we followed that through. So once those two processes are done, it's pretty clear from there. I would have thought more the incident's probably more the conversation for me.
Mm-hmm. What did you think of the incident?
I think it's pretty black and white. Yeah, you just can't do that anymore.
Did it shock you to see that? I mean, it's described as old school and what we used to see.
I'm conscious right now that it's an opposition player, and I don't sort of go down that path. But I think when you sort of look at probably the the clinical way of why we put the role in the first place was probably that, wasn't it? When a player's got their head over the ball, the reality is we just need to coach. We're coached differently now. We have to coach our players to let them win the ball and sort of step to the side and give them the opportunity to get their hands on it first. So that's the nature of the competition and what we're asked to do. So yeah, but I won't go any further than that. It'll get dealt with in the right channels.
How is that?
Oh, he seems fine. Yeah, he seems fine out in the room. So, but like all these, this is one part of ongoing checks for the player.
Yeah.
And as I said, I think we sort of took a very, very cautious approach. But I'd rather that than not. So really, we've got to still be sitting here in a day's time and 2 days' time and still got to follow the protocols, and we'll go through those when we need to.
Michael, how did you assess the game of Adam Shearer as a whole? He made some real important moments, particularly in the last, but also the games of Blake Acres and also Motlop, who played one of his best games for the season. Yeah,
they were all very important players. Ches had an extremely strong year, and for him to be able to step up and take more ownership around the midfield has been a pretty consistent thing for Ches for most of the year, and for the other two to be able to find some form over the game was really important. Blake being one of them. Motts has had some struggles. He sort of openly admits that. He sort of, I guess, reset himself at the halfway. He's had a great pre-season, done all the work. Probably made a few more things simpler for himself, but he showed up in some really big moments for us, both defensively and also on the other side of the ball in offence. And as a result, he kicked the goals. But there were some really important moments that he was involved in that we needed.
You've got a very prominent Carlton supporter now looking for work, Michael. What are your thoughts on Ange Postecoglou?
Yeah.
Have you spoken to him? And,
no, I haven't.
Would you offer him the job at Icon Carlton?
He is welcome here. I'm not sure we can afford him though. So it's if he wants to come and sit in my coach's box, he's more than welcome. So I'm reading that from a long way away. As what am I to say? I don't have all the facts in front of me, but I would have thought it's a pretty layman's decision, isn't it? Stick with it, but I'm not them.
How happy were you for Alex Chicotta tonight, Voss, as a coach and also just as an ace? You had a pretty emotional last 6 months, coming back from his hip surgery and having the privilege to be able to pick him again just after one VFL game. He was wrapped in the rooms after the match.
Yeah, he's a pretty relieved man in there and pretty proud of just being able to get back, and he's come off a pretty significant rehabilitation with his hip. And he just competes. That's really how you could summarise him. We're talking about Hudson O'Keefe. He's a competitor. He's a young man, but you sort of see the broad shoulders. When they fill out, look out. So to be able to sort of add those couple of guys were really important to us. He had merit for most of the night. One of the real challenges within getting those jobs done is how much it impacts your system. Clearly, Essendon were doing a lot of things to try and disrupt us. I thought we thought through most of it, but now we've got that, I guess, feedback. We can sort of now go back and have a bit of a look at it and see what we would change. But it was an important conclusion.
Well, it was because 5 contested marks for Hudson O'Keefe tonight. You must have just been really thrilled that he could have impact in the game, but support De Koning as well when it was a real critical part of the game. Yeah,
it's 6 weeks ago, I wouldn't have thought Hudson O'Keefe would be. I didn't think he was AFL ready. We're always constantly looking at a list, and he's had some really important conversations. He's gone to work in his game, particularly in the last 6 weeks, more forward of the ball necessarily than in the ruck. And credit to him and our development coaches that he spent the time to be able to work on the nuances of forward craft and his marking, because he spent most of his time in the ruck. So slowly over the course of the bigger picture for us is continue to build this depth of our list, and so it comes with exposure with some of our younger players. Carroll, Farrell, Hudson O'Keefe, Camperelli. We've now had 4 or 5 debutants now this year, and whether they end up playing 18 games or end up playing 5, it's pretty important that we continue to give them exposure. And form-wise, he stacked up tonight, which is a real credit to him.
Good for depth, isn't it, with your VFL side performing as well?
Yeah, and they had to win, so we obviously went back-to-back on that, so it's been a good day. And look, it's important for us to. I think we're sitting here saying, like, it's not it's not all perfect. I think we sort of acknowledge that, but we're going to enjoy this win. It's really hard, the competition, and we cop our criticism, but then when it's time to enjoy our win, we're going to enjoy it, and then we'll lock in as professionals on Tuesday, and we'll lock into our next opponents, and we've got some things to work on and make a little bit more consistent. But it's a good start, and that's what we asked the players to do, and they got the job done.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your address to the team at three-quarter time?
As in aggression, or as in?
You looked animated.
No, I was a little animated. Maybe just a little correction that was needed around the ball, but again, got the response. I mean, most of the night was about that. Was about the response. About no matter what happened, just move forward. And at three-quarter time, we sort of had to let go of the third quarter, and then just move on to the fourth quarter, wipe it from the memory, and get on with it. And to the mid's credit, like I said, I think it was plus 10 clearance in the last quarter. So they got to work and gave us the drive we needed, and we could have probably finished the game off just a little bit better if we finished our plays. But you'd have to say the response was there as it was across the most of the night.
Harry Mackay, is he much of a chance next week?
Assess that during the week. So he'll get into training on Tuesday, I'm guessing, and then we'll sort of work, obviously Sunday, so we don't get back in till Tuesday. So we'll assess that over the course of the week. Yeah.
Any injury concerns other than Evan?
No, I don't think so. We do, Evan? No. So looks like we're clear. Cheers. Thank you.